ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। सुखं नित्यं स्वप्रकाशं व्यापकं नामरूपयोः अधिष्ठानं बुद्ध्यबोध्यं बुद्धिर्दृग्यत्तु निर्मलम् अपारं सर्ववेदान्त वेद्यं प्रत्यक्परं महः तदेवाहं न मत्तोऽन्यदिति मे निश्चिता मतिः। So we are seeing the description of Jivaha. This description is under the Chit Chaturvidya Prakriya, where 4 types of Chaitanyam are talked about for communication. One is Kutastha Chaitanya, other is Jiva Chaitanya, third is Ishvara Chaitanya, fourth is Brahma Chaitanya. And for these 4, the 4 examples are given. For Kutastha Ghatakasha, for Jivaha Jalakasha, for Ishvara Meghakasha, and for Brahma Chaitanya Mahakasha. And out of these 4, Jiva Swarupa Varnanam in the 179, Jiva Swarupa was presented as Tasmat Buddhistha Chidabhasaha Buddhyadhisthana Chaitanyam cha iti ubhayam militva Jivaha iti siddhyati. So Buddhistha Chidabhasa and Buddhya Adhisthana Chaitanyam, these together, put together form Jiva. Like this Ghatakasha and the Ghatastha Jala Pratibimbita Akasha together make Jalakasha. So Jiva is like Jalakasha, and so Jiva is consisting of the Chit Pratibimba and Adhisthana Chaitanyam, otherwise called Kutastha Chaitanyam. And Tippanikara added one more, and that is Antakaranam. And Antakaranam is, even though if it is not mentioned also, it is included. But generally the Prakriya Bheda means the difference in the method of communication is with regard to the inclusion of Kutastha Chaitanyam or non-inclusion of Kutastha Chaitanyam. There are 2 Prakriyas with regard to the Vachyartha of the word Jiva. What is the Vachyartha? The immediate meaning of the word Jiva, Tvam. The first Prakriya, one Prakriya is where Antakarana with Chidabhasa is the Vachyartha. Antakarana with Chidabhasa is the Vachyartha of the word Jiva. And in this Prakriya, this Kutastha Chaitanyam is not added, is not included. Only Antakarana and Chidabhasa. And that is the Prakriya followed by Vartikakara, where the Kutastha Chaitanyam is not included. For them, for them to not include this Kutastha Chaitanyam, the argument is that Vachyartha is the Prasiddhartha, the meaning which is popular. And Jiva, when we say Jiva, the individual, referred to by the word I, when a person uses the word I, what does he understand? He understands that I am someone who is having the mind, and I am a conscious being, subject to change. And if we match the description of the person, it will match with the Antakarana and Chidabhasa. Therefore, the popular meaning of this word Jiva, referred to by the word I, should be only Antakarana and Chidabhasa. Because a common man does not know about Kutastha Chaitanya. And what common man understands about Jiva, that is called Vachyartha. That is called Mukhyartha. That is called Prasiddhartha. So meaning of the word Vachyartha is what? Popular meaning, well-known meaning. And the Prathama Prakriyakara, Vartikakara, or Tadanuyayinaha, they will say that Prasiddhartha of Jiva cannot be Kutastha Chaitanya. Kutastha Chaitanya nobody thinks of. When I say I, people, these ignorant people don't think. Even the people who have studied Vedanta also don't think. What to talk about the people who have not studied Vedanta. Therefore, Vachyartha should not include this Kutastha Chaitanya. What should it include? Only Antakaranam and Chidabhasa. In fact, Antakaranam and Chidabhasa, in that manner people don't understand. But whatever they understand, if we bring to the language of Shastra, it will amount to say the Antakaranam and Chidabhasa. Because I am a conscious being subject to change. And I have a mind. If this description we put in the language of Shastra, it will be tallying with the Chidabhasa and Antakarana. Nobody thinks that, there is a constant, changeless consciousness. Nobody thinks. If they think, they will not come to Vedanta also. They need not have Vedanta. If I have always understanding that consciousness, I consciousness am always constant, free from all changes, means if Kutastha Chaitanyam itself is included in the Vachyartha, then what is the need for Vedanta? And therefore this Vartikakara says that Kutastha Chaitanya should not be included in the definition of Jiva. Definition of the Vachyartha of Jiva, the word Jiva. So Vartikakara, Prathama Prakriyakara defines Jiva as Antakarana with Chidabhasa, based on the non-popularity of Kutastha Chaitanya. Whereas the second Prakriyakara, with Nishchal Dasji and all others, they will say that definition of Jiva should include this Kutastha Chaitanya. So three factors: Antakarana, Chidabhasa and Kutastha Chaitanya. And why? What is this supporting argument for them to have three members in Jiva? The supporting argument is that first of all he has to answer that it is not popular. Then this second Prakriyakara will say, Bhashyakara and Anuyayi, they will say that even though it is not popular, but it has to be included. Like when I say, when I went to that person, he brought tea for me. I am saying what? He brought tea. But did he bring the glass or not? Okay, वो टी खाली ऐसे कैसे लाएगा? He said, okay. So today I was thinking that whether there is a joke also I can have the class, but I think I didn't. Okay, so he has to bring, even though he doesn't mention, but what he brought in that glass, the tumbler, is it included or not? So the second Prakriyakara, the Bhashyakara Anuyayinaha, they will say that even though a person doesn't refer to Kutastha Chaitanyam, but he refers to directly refers to Chidabhasa, but Chidabhasa cannot be there without Bimba Chaitanya. Pratibimba, reflection, cannot be there without this original. Therefore, whether a Jiva, ignorant Jiva, whether he mentions Kutastha Chaitanyam or not, in his understanding of Chaitanyam, Kutastha is included only. And therefore, that your argument that it is not popular, that is answered. That Kutastha Chaitanyam should be included in the definition of Jiva. And another supportive argument is that there is a technical requirement. And that technical requirement we have discussed. If Kutastha Chaitanyam is not included, then Mukta Jiva, the Nityatvam of Jiva, which is talked about in Shastra, Na Jivo Mriyate, Jiva Petam Mriyate, in Chandogya it comes. So that Jiva Nityatva will not be established because Dana Kale, whatever is Mithya is negated. So Antakarana is Mithya, Chidabhasa is Mithya, so both are negated. So nothing remains, no nucleus remains on the part of Jiva to be Mukta. And therefore, some permanent part should be included. Then only this Mukti, the Nitya Jiva will be established. Some Nitya Jiva which remains even at the time of moksha will be established only when some permanent component is included in the definition of Jiva. Therefore, they say there is a technical requirement. Vishishtadvaiti will, they will pounce upon us that in your explanation, Jiva is totally dissolved. So Jiva itself is not remaining to get moksha. And therefore, there is a technical requirement to include Kutastha Chaitanyam in the definition of Jiva. So first prakriya, Jiva is equal to Antakarana Sahita Chidabhasa. Second prakriya, Antakarana Sahita Chidabhasa plus Kutastha Chaitanya. And depending upon the Vachyartha, these are the two versions about Vachyartha only. Depending upon the two versions of Vachyartha, two types of Lakshana will be used. But one thing to be noted, that in both the Prakriyas, when we are doing Mahavakya Vichara, Lakshyartha is what? Kutastha Chaitanya only. In both the Prakriyas, Prathama and Dvitiya, where in Vachyartha, this Kutastha Chaitanyam is not included in Prathama Prakriya. In second Prakriya, Kutastha Chaitanyam is included in Vachyartha of Jiva. In both the Prakriyas, Lakshyartha will be same. What? Kutastha Chaitanyam. In that there is no difference. Because at the level of Kutastha Chaitanyam alone, there is oneness with Ishvara. Therefore, Lakshyarthe Bhedah Nasti. But since Vachyartha is of different types, therefore, how Lakshyartha is brought about, in that there will be Bheda. Depending upon the understanding of Vachyartha, the type of Lakshana will be decided. Lakshyartha is the same, but how Lakshyartha is brought? By Lakshana. And that Lakshana will differ depending upon the Vachyartha. In the first Prakriya, Lakshana will be Jahal Lakshana, as we saw yesterday. Why Jahal Lakshana? Because the Vachyartha is Antakarana and Chidabhasa. This Kutastha Chaitanyam is not there. Therefore, what is to be done? The entire Vachyartha is to be given and something else is to be taken as Lakshyartha. Therefore, in the first Prakriya, they have to use Jahal Lakshana. Whereas in case of the second Prakriya, this Kutastha Chaitanyam is already there. Therefore, Vachyartha cannot be completely given up. It will be something like throwing the baby with bath water. And therefore, Jahal Lakshana cannot be used. Because using Jahal Lakshana means even discarding the Kutastha Chaitanya. Therefore, in the second Prakriya, only Bhagatyaga Lakshana, otherwise called Jahal Lakshana, is used. And this Antakarana and Chidabhasa are dismissed, dropped, Tyagaha, and there is a retention of the Kutastha Chaitanyam. So in the first Prakriya, the Jahar Lakshana will be used. In second Prakriya, Jahada Jahar Lakshana or Bhaga Tyaga Lakshana is used. Now out of these two Prakriya, for the beginners, the first one is good enough. Simple one. So we need not, bring in and complicate the matter. Complicate the matter. So we need not. So we tell, but Vishishtadvaiti are sitting in front of us. And then you have to teach. We have to bring Kutastha Chaitanya. And Kutastha Chaitanya is there only. Only we are highlighting in this second Prakriya. In the first Prakriya, if we little bit press them, they will say that Kutastha Chaitanya is very much there behind. But they are not mentioning. Like what all things you have in your room, you don't mention the broom and all this, you mention computer and all this. So similarly, it is there, but not mentioned. You don't mention some air is there, space is there, you don't mention. It's there. So similarly, what is there in the first Prakriya implicitly is made explicit in the second Prakriya. Therefore, there is no big difference. People say, Swamiji, great scholars, they also differ in this understanding of Vedanta. We people, ordinary people, are confused. Yeah, you will be confused. So you understand that really there is no difference. It is just a matter of emphasis. Sometimes you emphasize the presence of something, sometimes you don't emphasize. That's all. But all will include all. All right. So this is to be noted here. Buddhistha chidabhasaha buddhyadhisthana chaitanya uvaya militva jiva iti siddhyati. Then yesterday we saw abhasa swarupa nirupanam vivechanam. And here also with regard to chidabhasa also there are two views. One is chidabhasa means a reflection of consciousness. Means it is the reflection of some original consciousness called Bimba Chaitanyam. So Chidabhasa is a reflection of Bimba Chaitanyam. Now in this Prakriya we have two Bimba Chaitanyam. One is the Kutastha Chaitanyam, other is a Brahma Chaitanyam. So Kutastha Chaitanyasya Pratibimbaha Chidabhasaha. Chidabhasa is the reflection of Kutastha Chaitanya, or Chidabhasa is the reflection of Sarva Vyapaka, Bahya Vyapaka Brahma Chaitanya. And Granthakara says both are okay. So first he explained the first view that Chidabhasa is the reflection of Kutastha Chaitanya. And for that he gave some supportive logic. He says just as the Buddhi, which is like a crystal, on that there is this conscious, on that there is a consciousness which is like Pushpa, Kutastha Chaitanyam, and it will have the red color. So Buddhi has got the shining, Buddhi has got the red color, Buddhi, a red color like shining, and that shining belongs to that entity which is obtaining nearby. And Kutastha Chaitanyam is the Adhishthanam of Buddhi, therefore it is closest, and therefore it looks better that we accept the Chidabhasa to be Pratibimba of Kutastha only. So that was finally it was said. Atyanta swachha sphatikavat buddhi api atyanta nirmala sattvagunat karyatvat tasyaha tatra pratifalita kutastha prakashasyeva pratibimbaha iti samakhya. Tatra means in this buddhi, whatever prakasha of the kutastha, shining of the consciousness, which is reflected, that alone is called pratibimba, Chidabhasa. And therefore, buddhehe kutastha buddho kutasthaseva pratibimba uchitaha. So buddhi is adhisthita, is resting on, dependent on the kutastha. Therefore, the pratibimba also should be of kutastha only. Just as the sphatika is resting on the flower, and therefore Spatika has got the pratibimba of the flower on which it is resting. So similarly, Buddhi is resting on the Kutastha Chaitanyam, Adhisthita on Kutastha Chaitanyam. Therefore, it looks proper that the Buddhi has the pratibimba of Kutastha Chaitanya only. Alright. Iti jivaha Kutastha pratibimba iti pakshaha pradarshitaha. Alright. Athava. Now up to this we had seen Athava or Brahma Chaitanyasya Buddho pratibimbaha iti pakshaha api sambhavyate eva. Brahma Chaitanyasya of this consciousness which is limitless Brahma, tasya buddho pratibimbaha. The reflection of Brahma Chaitanyam in Buddhi is called Chidabhasa. Iti pakshaha. This view also sambhavyate eva. That also is possible. So, our acharyas, they are liberal with reference to the prakriya bheda. Because depending upon the mental frame of the seeker, the learner, the student, different prakriyas will be suitable, will click. For some people, this Kutastha Chaitanya being the bimba for the Chidabhasa Pratibimba, that will suit. And for some others, Brahma Chaitanya is the Pratibimba, that will suit. And whatever you take, our Tatparyam is what? Our Tatparyam is that Kutastha Chaitanyam is Brahma Chaitanyam. In that there is no difference whatsoever. Our main target is Mahavakya Bodha. Aikya Bodha is our main target. And in that arrival of this Mahavakya Artha, whatever prakriya suits you, that you take it. And we give variety because some prakriya we have so many questions. And other prakriya is given, person feels good. You must have seen the room is like this. One room person, oh Swamiji, I don't like this room. You give other room, is very good. Because the problem which were there in the previous rooms are not there. And after some time, you will say that room also has problem. But initially what happens? Our mind is subtle. Why? Because the problem which was bothering me so much is not there. So similarly here, this one prakriya, person has got so many questions. And then it is said now that there is other prakriya, he feels validated. That there is other prakriya means this first prakriya must not be correct. That's why only other prakriya. Yes. Therefore the person will like it. Because in that second prakriya, the problems which he was facing in the first prakriya are not there. And his mind is so fascinated by that, he doesn't see any problem in the second prakriya. Like a change of food, no? So here when people come, they say, Swamiji, ashram food is so good, I like it, Swamiji. In fact, teaching I like, food also I like. They say like this. And after some time, here whatever issues are there, they will come up. So here, therefore in Shastra, whichever prakriya you use, there may be some limitation. There is no prakriya which is complete. And therefore different prakriyas are given. See, first one person starts with the first prakriya and he finds problem and he was given second prakriya, he is very happy. Somebody started with second prakriya, finds problem, he is giving first prakriya, happy. Like room change also happens. That person changes room number 16 to 17. And somebody is happy with 16 itself. 16 is very good. That's how it happens. Therefore, in Shastra, we have different prakriyas because our mind focus is on some issues. And different minds focus on different issues. Therefore, different prakriyas are there. So, we should not take it as a matter of problem. We should take it as a matter of prosperity. That it is our greatness, glory that we have so many ways to see it. It is something like, in some restaurant, only idlis are served. That is a good restaurant, or where idlis are served, dosas are served, or vada is served. That is better restaurant. Some people say in our religion, only one God. So we also have only one God. In fact, we say only God. But they said that you people are confused. See, you must be confused. Puja Swami said, you are imposing a confusion us. We are not confused. We are happy in our puja room. So many gods are there. We don't have any problem. Do we feel that one god will be fighting with other or something? We don't have problem. They think that we will have problem. We should have problem. So we don't buy such ideas. So many prakriyas can be there. And there is a beautiful shloka which says, Yaya yaya bhavet pumsa pravrutti pratyagatmani sasa prakriya sadvi sachaivanavasthita. Means, by whichever prakriya, yaya yaya bhavet pumsam, by whichever prakriya, pumsam, purushanam, vrittihi, the engagement in pratyagatma, means engagement in the chintanam of pratyagatma, means his mind is settled. He had some questions, prakriya is given, some particular prakriya is given, his mind is settled, and now it is able to abide in pratyagatma. Sasa prakriya sadvi, that prakriya is the best. Sacha anavasthita, in that prakriya there is no absoluteness. That this prakriya alone is the prakriya, there is no other prakriya possible, or by any other prakriya it cannot be explained. There is no such thing. Prakriya is not having absoluteness. So we should not get stuck with the prakriya, or we should not try to make the prakriya perfect. That I will present in such a way, all PowerPoint presentation and all, make it perfect. No prakriya is perfect. And keeping that in mind, we study different prakriyas. Okay. So, athava brahma chaitanyasya buddho pratibimbaha iti paksha api sambhavyate eva is possible. Tathahi, the explanation follows. Ghatantastha jale bahya mahakasha pratibimbaha eva bhavati natu ghatantasthasya akashasya pratibimbaha. So he says, ghatantastha jale, in the water obtaining in the pot, bahya mahakasha pratibimbaha eva bhavati, the reflection of total space obtaining outside eva bhavati alone takes place. So in the water which is there in the pot, in ghatastha jala, there is a reflection. That reflection is of the outside total space only. Natu ghatantastha sya akashasya pratibimba. Our experience shows that it is not the reflection of the space which is just obtaining in the pot. Ghatakashasya pratibimba na, kintu mahakashasya pratibimba. Why? Simple reason is that I am seeing the stars along with space. And stars are outside only. Stars are not inside the pot. And therefore, this pratibimba of akasha seen in the pot water is of outside space, mahakasha only, and not of the ghatantastha akasha. Ghatastha jale. He gives one logic. Ghatastha jale yavan vistaraha upalabhyate tavan vistaraha ghatantastha akashasya nasti. He says, ghatastha jale, in the water obtaining in pot, yavan vistaraha, the expanse of such magnitude, yavan, of such magnitude, upalabhyate, is experienced. In the water of the pot, we are seeing this vistara, means we are seeing the expanse, the area, is that area which we are seeing in the ghatastha jala, tavan, that much vistaraha, that much expanse, nasti, is not there for ghatantastha akasha. The space obtaining in the pot does not have that much extensiveness. which we are seeing in the reflection. In the reflection, we are seeing huge space with so many stars, etc. That much expansion is not there on the part of the Ghatastha Akasha. And therefore what? Ghatastha Jale Upalabhyamana Vistar, and further, Ghatastha Jale Upalabhyamana Vistaraha Akashasya Pratibimbaha eva. And the Vistara, the expanse, which is experienced in the water obtaining in the pot, that Vistara is Pratibimba eva. There is no real extension, real expansion. That Vistara is Akashasya Pratibimba eva, is only the reflection of space. The expanse you are seeing in the water means so many stars are there, gap between them is there. That expanse you are seeing, that expanse is only the reflection of space. It is not you are seeing the original expanse. You are seeing only reflection. And tasmat, therefore means the expanse you are seeing, the expansion you are seeing in the pot water is a reflection alone, and that much space is not there, that much expansion is not there in the pot space. It is there only in the Mahakasha, total space. Therefore, Bahya Mahakashasya eva Ghatastha Jale Pratibimbaha Vachyaha. Therefore, the reflection of the Mahakasha, external total space, in the water of the pot, Vachyaha should be told. In simple words, that we have to accept that the reflection in the water obtaining in the pot you are seeing is only of the total space and not of the Ghata Akasha, not of the pot space. Because pot space is comparatively very small, and what we are seeing is very huge. The expansion, the extensiveness we are seeing in the reflection is very huge, and therefore it must be of Bahya Akasha. Okay, this is established for what? We are really not so much interested in establishing that this reflection in the water is of Bahya Akasha. What do we get out of this? Suppose we establish that the reflection of space in the pot water is of the Akasha only, Bahya Akasha only. By that there is no Prayojanam Siddham. But this we make as a Drishtanta, and then it will be useful in establishing certain idea in Dashtanta. Therefore he says Evam. Evam, similarly, Buddho, which is the Jalasthaniya Buddho, Vyapaka Brahma Chaitanyasya api Pratibimbaha Bhavitum Arhati. In Buddhi also, the reflection of the Vyapaka Brahma Chaitanya, the all-pervasive Brahma Chaitanyam, all-pervasive consciousness called Brahma, alone Bhavitum Arhati should be there. Similarly, in Buddhi also, the reflection of Vyapaka Brahma Chaitanyasyapi, of Vyapaka Brahma Chaitanya alone, Bhavitum Arhati should be there. So Buddho api, it is how Anvaya should be there. Evam Buddho api Vyapaka Brahma Chaitanyasya Pratibimbaha Bhavitum Arhati. So in Buddhi also, there should be reflection of the total consciousness, not this individual or Buddhi Avachinna Chaitanyam. Bhavitum Arhati. All this is told in the Prakriya Dasha only. After we are going to say what? This Ghatakasha and the Mahakasha are one only. But just to satisfy our mind, because our mind is very curious, what is reflected in this Buddhi? It is this, the total consciousness is reflected, or this individual consciousness is reflected. The consciousness which is conditioned by the Buddhi, that consciousness called Kutastha Chaitanya, that is reflected, all the total consciousness is reflected. Different people will be appealed by different theories. Here itself I ask, perhaps we will have that 4 people, 2 people will say this, 2 people will say. Which one is good? Kutasthasya. Why?
That nearby. Near.
What do you feel?
Both are same.
Kutastha. What do you feel?
Both are same, but if I have to choose, Brahma Chaitanya.
Correct. See, I will go now, Brahma Chaitanya. I have to make the both words same. All right. So both are same, but see, Kutastha Chaitanya has some advantage. But our Drishtanta, in Drishtanta, more support is there to Vyapaka Chaitanya. Drishtanta Drishtya. But Laghava Drishtya, the proximity Drishtya, this Kutastha Chaitanya. But Akasha Drishtanta Drishtya, this Vyapaka Chaitanya, because we see very parallel if you draw, there only. But both are okay because Kutastha Chaitanya finally Vyapaka Chaitanya only. Correct. Alright. Now, again, there's some Nanu Nacha will happen. It's called Nanu Nacha. व्यापकस्य ब्रह्म चैतन्यस्य प्रतिबिंबः न युज्यते इति इयम् आशंका आकाश दृष्टान्तेन एव निराकार्य. Somebody can say that reflection प्रतिबिंबः of vyapaka all pervasive brahma chaitanyam na yujyate is not possible. Iti iyam ashanka, this type of doubt, nirakarya, should be dismissed by akasha drishtantena. By this example of space itself, we can negate. And how? Yatha, he shows how akasha drishtanta will help to dismiss this doubt. What is the doubt? How can there be reflection of Vyapaka Brahma Chaitanya? Such a huge one, how can it be reflected in small water? So he says, it's possible, Akasha, it happens. Yatha Akashasya Vyapakasya api pratibimba sambhavati. Just as there is reflection of Akasha, even though it is all pervasive, it is possible. Just as the reflection of Akasha, even though it is all pervasive, Sambhavati is possible. Tatha Vyapaka Chaitanyasya api Pratibimbaha Sambhavet. Similarly, the reflection of Vyapaka Chaitanya, the all pervasive consciousness, is possible. See, Drishtanta, Sambhavet means will be possible. Drishtanta is meant for Sambhavana Buddhi Jananartham or Asambhavana Buddhi Nirakaranartham. Here Asambhavana Buddhi Nirakaranartham. For dismissing that sense of impossibility. How all pervasive space can have reflection cannot be there. So when we show the example, see it happens here. Then our mind will have little bit shanti. The resistance will be reduced. Asambhavana buddhi nirakaranartham drishtanta. But one thing we need to know, that we are not establishing this Chidabhasa purely based on the Drishtanta and Drishtanta based Tarka. Otherwise, the arguments will go on. How can this Chaitanya have reflection, etc.? Even though we gave the answer, but still full satisfaction will not be there. Tarka cannot give you a complete satisfaction. So here also, main pramanam is Shruti only. Consciousness can have Pratibimba like entity. We are not establishing really something, whatever we are seeing in the mirror, that type of reflection. Reflection means what? Manifestation. So consciousness can have individual manifestation in individual upadhi. That much we are establishing with the help of logic, but primarily based on Shruti. In Kathopanishad there is a Shruti. Agnir yatheko bhuvanam pravishtaha rupam rupam pratirupo babhuva ekas tatha sarva bhutantaratma rupam rupam pratirupo babhuva. So that Shruti, rupam rupam pratirupo babhuva, Depending on the upadhi, it manifested. So that can be presented as the basis for Chidabhasa. In Brihadaranyaka also it is there. Etebhyo bhutebhyaha samuthaya tani eva anuvinashyati. In Brihadaranyaka, the second chapter, fourth Brahmana, where Maitri Yagnivalkya Samvada is there, there Yagnivalkya says that based on the manifestation of upadhi, there is a khilya bhava. Pashyakara uses the word khilya bhava. Khilya bhava means the individual manifestation. Saindhava, like that. So khilya bhava is there. That individuality, individual manifestation is called khilya bhava. So depending upon the upadhi, etebhyo bhutebhyaha samuthaya means from these bhutas, which are the hetus, this khilya bhava samuthaya, this individual manifestation having arisen, tani eva anuvinashyati. When this individual, these mahabhutas are resolved, then the khilya bhava also is resolved. So this Brihadaranyaka Shruti is also a pramanam for Chidabhasa, individual manifestation. So our main strength is Shruti. But what happens that we ourselves sometimes are not so much convinced of the validity of Shruti. Therefore, whatever logic is presented in Shastra, that alone we present. That alone we show it as our strength. Why? Because that is what people like it. So we always show what people like it. But we should know that is not our real strength. In not all matters, but in this matter, Shruti is the final pramanam. In Advaitatvam, in the deciding the nature of Atma, this Shruti is the pramanam. People think that by everything, Swamiji, Vedanta is so logical. Vedanta is not logical. People said Vedanta is logical. Logical means, logical means that which can be established by logic is called logical. If something can be established by logic, what is the need for Shruti? So Vedanta is not logical, but it is not illogical. Illogical means what? That which can be dismissed by logic is called illogical. So the subject matter of Vedanta is neither logical nor illogical. It is allogical. Means cannot be dismissed, cannot be established by logic. So this must be very, very clear. Otherwise, you know what will happen? You think so everything I will prove by logic, and somebody will really give you a tough fight. He will dismiss. Logical, if you give argument, he will give another argument. Therefore, merely by logic we cannot establish. Is Shruti Sammata Tarka. So it is not that what is established by Shruti will be dismissed by logic. Will not be dismissed by logic. But by mere logic you cannot prove. Your approach is to understand the vision of Shruti with the help of logic. Your approach is not to prove by logic what is revealed by Shruti. That is where the traditional, those who have studied traditionally and those who have reading translation and starting teaching, that difference will come. There all difference comes. Like Swami Paramarthanand is very nicely telling. He said chanting, no? He says certain things we can make out whether person has studied this chanting traditionally or not studied. That particular the vowel before the conjunct consonant, that the lengthening will be little extra traditionally. Oswa will be there. So that these we can make out. So similarly here, how you are presenting the Shastra? Are you presenting Shastra as something which is logical, or you are presenting Shastra as pramanam itself, which can be understood with the help of logic for the satisfaction of our buddhi? So that makes a difference. Yeah. So when we say like this, no, people say, Swamiji, I think you people are a little weak in logic, no? Therefore you are protecting, Like the child, no, not very strong. So every now and then, child will go to mother's lap. Will try to hide behind mother. Similarly, you people are very, very weak, in logic. Therefore, you will hide behind Mother Shruti. That they will think. We are not anyway weak in logic. We are ready. We have all acharyas to dismiss them logically. We have Khanda and Khanda Khadya. Means that Nayayikas who are supposed to be the champion of logic, they have been dismissed thoroughly. In fact, Khandan Khanda Khadyakara, he takes up each lakshana given by Nayayikas. Atyanta Bhava, this lakshana is, and is it lakshana, this defect. They are not left with anything. One by one he dismisses. It's a very huge book. And he says, if you ask me what is your Siddhanta, he doesn't present his Siddhanta there. That is revealed by Vedanta. Our Atma is Swaprakasha revealed, and these mistakes about Atma is dismissed by Shruti. And therefore, he said, we are not having any fear that our Paksha will be dismissed, etc. So, because main thing is our Shruti Pramanam, and we do not have any obsessive view. Our vision of Vedanta is that Brahman or limitless reality is self-evident self. You cannot dismiss yourself, and you are the reality. This Swamiji in this video nicely says, the reality is, you are the reality. You are the reality, that is the reality. And that you can see. And therefore, we do not have any fear of logically being dismissed. Why? Because our main, this Pramanam is Shruti. And we defend this accusation of Shruti being illogical by logic. So whenever we give logic, it is not to prove that Shruti is logical. We give logic to show that Shruti is not illogical. That is our approach. Alright. So here also contextually we need to know that this Chidabhasa or Chidabhasa, like, we are not particular about the using the word reflection also. You Swamiji, I can't really imagine that consciousness can have reflection. You give all example, this guna cannot have guna and all this you told, but somehow I am not convinced, Swamiji. I don't feel that consciousness can have reflection. In fact, Bhavan Bhashyakara has dismissed this reflection in literal sense. If you take reflection literal sense, it is dismissed in Taittiriya Bhashya. Chandogya, it is accepted. So, how will we reconcile? We reconcile by saying that if you are taking this in literal sense, it will not be possible. And real it is not possible. Real reflection of consciousness is not possible. Mayaya Sambhavati. So Bhashyakara there in the Chandogya, when he accepts, he says Mayaya Sambhavati. And whatever is possible by Maya is what? Mithya only. Therefore, Chidabhasa is a Mithya Pratibimba of Chaitanya. That is accepted. And therefore, our Tatparyam is not in establishing this real reflection of consciousness. Otherwise, still, say, Swamiji, you are shutting my mouth, but my heart is not saying yes. That type of situation comes sometime. For every argument you make, this teacher gives the answer. But still, you are not convinced. That type of thing happens. Something is not correct. You feel that way. In that situation, with regard to Chidabhasa at least, everywhere I cannot say, but Chidabhasa, we can say that Tatparyam is not in establishing Chidabhasa. Tatparyam is in explaining how one consciousness which is changeless, can appear as changing. Whichever model suits you, you can accept it. Okay. But the Shastra, he accepts Chidabhasa as a part of the prakriya of communication. It means Chidabhasa is not something which is outside the prakriya. Is accepted. Bhashyakara in the Brihadaranyaka Bhashya, he gives both the example, Khilya Bhava and the Saindhava, means it's like salt coming in the water. So that also is given, and Chit Pratibimba also he gives. So both are there. Sampradaya, both are accepted. Okay. Itham Buddhist Chidabhasaha Buddhyadhisthana Chaitanyam cha iti ubhayam militva jiva iti uchyate. So he is holding on to the second one only. Itham, in this manner, Buddhist Chidabhasaha, the consciousness reflected in the buddhi, also the reflection of consciousness. Oh, acha, that Rupavataha, okay. That he is going to say, we have already seen. Rupavataha eva padarthasya rupa vishishte eva padarthantare pratibimbodayaha iti niyamapi nasti. He is just reminding. Rupavataha eva padarthasya. Anything which is endowed with form and colors alone can have pratibimbodayaha, the rise of reflection. The rise of reflection is possible only of a thing which is endowed with rupam. And where it will be reflected? Rupa vishishta eva padarthantare. In something which is some other thing which is endowed with rupam. So what he wants to say? Rupa vishishtasya eva, rupa vishishte eva, pratibimbaha sambhavati. So both should have rupam. This reflecting media should have rupam, and this reflecting entity, bimba, original also should have rupam. Iti niyama, that Purvapakshi says this such type of rule is there. Siddhanta says iti niyama api nasti. That type of rule is not there. Why? Nirupasya api shabdasya nirupakashe pratibimba drishyate va iti praguktatvat. This rule is not there, and we have already told. So niyama is not there. Why? Because it has been already told that nirupasya shabdasya, the sound which is not having any form, still nirupakashe, in the akasha, there is a pratibimba. The sound, this resounding is an echo is there. Nirupakashe pratibimbaha. This echo is seen in the formless akasha. Yes, scientists will a little bit object. So, but we are not going to into that details. Drishyate eva nirupasya shabdasya nirupa akashe pratibimbaha drishyate eva is seen, and iti praguktatvat. Everything was not told, but this much was told. Nirupasya shabdasya pratibimbaha drishyate. So that was told in the page number page number 96, 174, it was there. Shabdasya Tippani also had explained. Tikakara and Tippani Kara, both of them gave enough material. Tasmat Sambhavati eva vyapaka nirupa brahma chaitanyasyapi pratibimbaha. Therefore, the reflection of all pervasive, formless consciousness, Brahma Chaitanyam, is definitely possible. So he has used both Vyapaka and Nirupa. So because he wants to cover both. Vyapaka Chaitanya also can have Pratibimba. For that Akasha Drishtanta. Nirupa Chaitanya also can have Pratibimba. Shabda is a Drishtanta. Itham Buddhist Chidabhasaha Buddhyadhisthana Chaitanyam cha iti ubhayam militva jiva iti uchyate. Jivaha iti uchyate. In this manner, Buddhist Chidabhasa, the Chidabhasa obtaining in the Buddhi, and Buddhi Adhisthana Chaitanyam, consciousness which is the Adhishthanam, the basis for Buddhi, iti ubhayam militva, having joined together, both of them joined together, jiva iti uchyate. Jiva, it is called jiva. The combination of Buddhist Chidabhasa and Buddhi Adhisthana Chaitanyam is called jivaha. And here Buddhistha Chidabhasa is said, therefore Buddhi also is to be included. Soyam jivaha tvam pada vacyarthaha. That this jiva, that jiva which was presented earlier, and ayam jivaha means aparukshataya upalabhyamanaha. Soyam jivaha tvam pada vacyarthaha is that this jiva. That this jiva means that jiva which is the combination of Chidabhasa and Kutastha Chaitanyam is tvam pada vacyarthaha. Is the immediate meaning, popular meaning of the word tvam. And jivastha chidabhasam vihaya parishishtaha kevala kutastha eva tvam pada lakshyarthaha. Just now we discussed this. Having vihaya, having left out, having kept aside, or dropping jivastha chidabhasam, chidabhasa aspect of jiva, then parishishtaha, remaining, kevala kutastha, pure kutastha chaitanyam, eva alone, tvam pada lakshyarthaha is the implied meaning of the word tvam. Why? Why that alone is lakshyartha? Because at kutastha chaitanya level only oneness with Ishvara chaitanyam is possible. Therefore that is lakshyartha. See, lakshyartha is decided based on what is intended by the vakya. So tattvamasi, you are that is conveying the oneness. And oneness will be conveyed only when you take the implied meaning. When Vachyarthas are opposite. When Vachyarthas are contradicting with the idea conveyed by the Vakya, then we have to take Lakshyartha. So here, Kevala Kutastha eva tvam pada Lakshyartha. Aham Shabdasya Vachyartha Jivaha. He gives all related details. The meaning of the word Aham is Vachyartha Jivaha. Is the popular meaning of the word Jiva. Means what? When I say Aham, it refers to Chidabhasa and Adhisthana Chaitanyam. This combination of Adhisthana Chaitanyam and Chidabhasa, including Buddhi, is the popular meaning of the word Aham. Lakshyarthaha tu Kevala Kutasthaha. Whereas the implied meaning of the word Aham, here Aham Shabdasya only. Aham Shabdasya Lakshyarthaha Kevala Kutasthaha. Pure changeless consciousness iti vivekaha. This is the discrimination between the Vachyartha and Lakshyartha. Alright, more we'll see in the next class. Om Purnamadaഃ Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.